to Investment Banking Insights. This is the only show dedicated to helping you learn both the technical and non-technical aspects of the investment banking process. My name is Alex Mason. I'm your host. Thanks so much for joining me. And today we're going to talk about my top 10 recruiting resources for getting into investment banking. Literally just started my associate position yesterday as of the time of recording this. So super excited to share what really helped me on this journey in terms of outside resources, of course, other than doing this podcast. But I want to share that with you now. So the first thing is the 400 questions from mergers and inquisitions. This is basically a really big PDF that covers all sorts of technical topics like valuation, transactions, accounting, all sorts of things. And it's one of the things that I used when I was first starting. One of the things that I like about this resource is that, well, it's free. You can just find it on the Mergers and Inquisitions blog. It is pretty comprehensive. It's got a lot of stuff in it, and you could just read it for hours and just learn things. If you're like someone who learns by reading, it's a decent resource. A lot of interview questions do come directly from this guide, which is why I think it's still a relevant resource. One of the things I don't like about the 400 questions guide, it felt a little bit overwhelming. It's just like pages and pages of PDFs. And actually that was one of the inspirations for me starting this show, was because I felt like there needed to be another way to learn investment banking outside of reading textbooks and reading long pages of PDFs. Another downside I noticed is that in the 400 questions, the explanations to the answers are either non-existent or very simple. Sometimes it's just like question and then answer. And then you're like, okay, but how did you get to the answer? Okay, number 2 is a textbook that I really love. And this was actually our textbook at Cornell for an investment banking immersion. It's this book right here it's literally just called Investment Banking. It's by 2 guys named Joshua Rosenbaum and Joshua Pearl, and both experienced in the finance world. And I mean, this book is great. Like, I literally used chapter 6 of this book during my summer internship last summer. It's incredibly detailed. It's everything that you would want in terms of a textbook for investment banking. So I think they did an excellent job. And of course, if you buy the book, there are even some models, like some spreadsheets that come with it that you can practice some of the things in the book. So highly recommend this. I think this is kind of like the gold standard in terms of textbooks for investment banking that's out there. The con of a book like this, it's better once you have the job, in my opinion. It's not as good in terms of getting the job. It describes a lot of things that investment bankers actually do on a daily basis, which isn't the same thing as the type of knowledge you're expected to know when you're interviewing for a job. Okay, another resource that I love, number 3, this one is also a textbook. This is called Financial Statements by Thomas Idelson. It's basically an accounting textbook for non-accounting people, and it describes a lot of things in simple language. There is still a lot of content in this book, but I think it's really great because it kind of breaks things down from a simple perspective. So I recommend it highly. It's just very simply called Financial Statements by Idelson. The negative of this book is that it's not investment banking specific. There's no valuation content. There's no M&A content. So it's really narrow in its scope to just accounting. But accounting is one of those things in the technicals of investment banking that a lot of people get tripped up on, especially early on. So that book is a good resource. Okay, number 4 is a digital resource that I use, and it's actually the Wall Street Journal. So Wall Street Journal, look, if you want to know what's going on in the world of finance and going on in markets, you have to read, you have to stay abreast of what the deals are, of what the biggest headlines are, what's going on with the Federal Reserve, what's going on with the economy. And you don't necessarily need to get deep in the weeds of all that stuff, but you do want to know at least at a high level, what's going on. I just have the Wall Street Journal app on my phone. You can get a subscription if you're in school. Most universities, or at least a lot of universities, will have subscriptions for their students paid for already. So take advantage of that and just start reading every day, especially if you're in the thick of recruiting season, or even if it's just a couple of times a week. Just learn what's going on in the markets. Super helpful. One of the cons of the Wall Street Journal is that it's super high level, right? If you want to know like very niche topics or nuances behind certain things, that's not really what Wall Street Journal or other major publications are for. You want to find other resources for that. And then of course, Wall Street Journal is not free. You do have to pay for a subscription if you can't get it through your school. So that's another con. Okay, number five resource that I use is a resource called Morning Brew. This is basically an email newsletter. I still get it to this day. I still read it. I get an email every day from them, and I don't read them every day anymore, but I will read Morning Brew at least a few times a week, just because it's really good info in a really short kind of bite-sized package in order for me to know the headlines. So Wall Street Journal is kind of like if I want to read a couple of stories about something in depth going on in the market, I'll go to Wall Street Journal. If I just want to know like the bare minimum highlights of what happened in the last couple of days in the world of business in the US and markets, I'll go to Morning Brew. And I like it because it kind of summarizes what the other big publications publish, but it also does so in, I think, a pretty entertaining way. So I enjoy reading it. It's kind of fun to read. It's free, and you get it daily. The con of this is it is an email newsletter, so there are ads, sometimes within the actual body of the newsletter. You got to scroll through. Also, it's like more limited on the depth of the information that you're gonna get. But they do have a lot of links always to the source material if you want to go further with that. So I really like Morning Brew. I continue to read it. Okay, this is number 6 and number 7, Dale Carnegie and Toastmasters International. Two different organizations that have kind of like two somewhat different missions, but fundamentally they will help you become more effective communicators. Wow, that was it. So important, so important. Like Dale Carnegie has more of a leadership kind of focus, but still does a lot of public speaking. Toastmasters International is focused explicitly on making you a better public speaker and presenter. And they both have their different styles. Dale Carnegie is, just to like back up, there's a man named Dale Carnegie. He wrote this famous book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. I actually got it up here, which is kind of like the famous book on people skills. And then Toastmasters International, I actually joined a Toastmasters club associated with my job back in my engineering days. And that was fun because you get to like work with people, you sit with people, and you take turns going around the room, practicing your skills. And I think these kind of skills are underestimated in the investment banking recruiting process. I've mentioned that before. But yeah, super impactful for me personally. The cons of this is that these are like live classes and it does cost money and you do have to spend a lot of time in order to see real results. Okay, so number 8 is maybe a super simple one, but I'm going to include it anyway, and that's Microsoft Excel. If you want to be an investment banker, you have to learn Microsoft Excel. If Excel is something that absolutely scares you, you don't know anything about it, you don't want to touch it, either rethink the career that you want to go into or just face it and say, you know what, I'm going to learn the basics and take my time actually getting to know it because it is critical. Like I was just in training today and all we did all day was Excel. So you're going to get good at it as a banker, but you can kind of get ahead of it by learning it early. Especially with some of these interviews nowadays, there's a lot of modeling tests in the super day. So you may be asked like to model a specific company, to build a specific type of model depending on the firm that you're interviewing with or the position. And you want to be quick, you want to be quick on those keys. You want to know what you're doing, at least have a basic understanding of how to build something. Okay, number 9 is an AI resource that I use. It's called Perplexity. It's essentially what you would imagine like ChatGPT, except it just I think, a little bit better in terms of how it operates and the results that I get from it. So I use Perplexity all the time, not just for investment banking, but just in my personal life, just to, as my AI companion. I've been incorporating artificial intelligence more and more into my workflows, more and more into my daily life, really. And it's amazing. I think this is really good for helping you understand technical concepts. I think that's what Perplexity and AI in general is really good for, because these are like more or less objective things that you just have to know. Definitely use artificial intelligence to help supplement your learning when it comes to the technical stuff for investment banking. I think it is super helpful. And then number 10 is another tool that I use literally every day. It's called Notion. This one is just like helps organize my life. I call it my second brain. So when you're organizing your coffee chats, when you're looking at your deadlines for applications, you can put it all in a table. You can filter things, you can organize it, and it's synced to the cloud across all devices. It's just kind of like, instead of just keeping notes on your phone, it's more of an integrated way to keep track of everything across the recruiting process. So that's what I use for literally everything investment banking, as well as a lot of other things in my life. So definitely recommend Notion. It's free. That's a benefit. In terms of cons, I mean, it's not well suited for like tables. So Excel is really better for that. But otherwise, it's a really amazing tool. Okay, so those are the 10 biggest resources that I use in my recruiting journey that I love, ranging from the super specific to investment banking all the way over to general tools and resources. So I hope this is helpful in your recruiting journey. And of course, I want to be a great resource for you. So if you have ideas for episodes of the show, or you know someone who you think would be an amazing guest on this show, I would love to hear about it. Just go ahead and put it in the comments here below. If you're watching on YouTube, or even the comments on Spotify, I'll see those as well. And I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.